Hey, this is ASpengler, and today we will be going over a new custom vehicle that I have recently built. Today it is the T-34 76 millimeter gun, and like the previous builds, I have been going through my collection and taking the old Brickmania models and trying to redo it with my own designs. So this is the Brickmania design. It was in the Operation Barbarossa booklet, and this is my custom design, and they're quite different. Um, just looking at them side by side, I chose to do a lot more unique techniques, at least more unique than this one. This one definitely goes along a certain sort of way by just using the bricks. I chose to try to represent the slopes on T-34 using a lot of hinge pieces, so it's a lot more complex and a lot more bricks being used, and I think it kind of turned out the way I wanted it to. Of course, there's some areas that I'm not as happy with how they turned out, and some areas I definitely would like to go back to and try to rework, but for now, this is what we have. And so I try when I redo these builds to add as much detail in as I can. Problem with that is you got to know when to sacrifice detail to functionality and just being realistic. I think I might have tried to put a little bit too much detail into this one, and so you can definitely tell in certain areas that some areas were compromised and it didn't end up as good as it could have. But um, I think as a base model, it looks pretty good. The Brickmania one, I think it looks good as a T-34. It's just it doesn't really look like the T-34 with the 76 millimeter gun. I think the turret definitely is a little bit too big, and it looks more of a cross between the 76 and the 85, or I think it's the 85, the bigger gun one. But I think the turret is a little bit too big. I don't know if this is more of a later war version, but I don't think it really represents the 76 millimeter T-34. But I think the overall shape of it's pretty good, and it's got a decent balance of details on it. So I don't think this is a bad kit, but I definitely wanted to just try my hand at it, see what I could come up with. And so here we go. Um, what I really wanted to capture and try to update was the turret. That was the biggest thing that I wanted to change and make different from this model. So I think I got it all right. I think it's a good start, but I think it's a little bit too wide in some areas, maybe a little too small in some areas. But I think it was a pretty good first attempt. I definitely want to try and redo this T-34 at some point. I don't know if I want to do that after I try my hand at the later war version, which has the 85 millimeter gun, the bigger one. But there's definitely some problems with the frontal slope here that will need to be fixed. I don't think it's terrible, but the actual one definitely did not have this slope, and then it goes up here. So definitely something there I have to fix. I tried to do all hinge pieces to get that slope. I think the slope turned out pretty good. It's just some of the areas where it kind of meets up. There's some gaps in there, especially back here. There's a big gap there. And so it was definitely really frustrating trying to do it this way, so I do not recommend doing it this way. But while I was doing it, I saw some areas that I could potentially use for future tanks. It's definitely a good experience trying it out like this. It's always good to try out new techniques. You definitely learn stuff along the way. So I think I learned some pretty good lessons throughout building this tank. I think the back turned out probably the best out of most of the areas on the model. So we got that. Definitely have to improve on the front a little bit, but we got that front hatch. You can fit a guy in there, which is nice. But yeah, I went through just a bunch of different clip pieces, hinge pieces, trying to get that curve on the slopes, and I think it turned out good. I was trying to wrap it all together with the turret, which I think the turret turned out all right, but there's something about it that doesn't look quite right to me. but we'll see about that later on. But for now, I think it's definitely a decent improvement. I think it looks pretty good as a T-34, and at least I can say it's my own custom design, and I'm not relying on Brickmania for a T-34, but definitely some areas on this tank that I do want to improve on in the future. I know I have done custom instructions in the future, or in the past. I don't think I'm going to do this one because it's super complex in some areas, and it's just a pain to build, and I don't want to try to make this in instructions, but I do want to try to remake it at some point. So have hope that eventually someday we will have a T-34 instructions coming out, but I don't think it's going to be this model. It's just some areas of it are huge pain, and yeah, it's a little bit too much work, I think, to try to make it. Some areas like the front hull, it's just kind of set in there, and that might be a little bit difficult to do on the instructions. Some of these slopes aren't actually, it doesn't go in completely where the bricks are completely snapped on. So it's a little buggy in a lot of areas. So I don't even want to attempt that on the instructions until I get a better version of this T-34 out there. But here it is. It's not a terrible tank, but definitely are areas that could be improved. It's not the prettiest ever, especially compared to some of my previous ones. It's not as smooth as the other ones and doesn't flow quite as well, but there are definitely some angles on it that look pretty good. So there it is, the T-34 with the 76mm gun. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.